Hey everyone, thank you for checking in. This is Arnie, and today, man, we are so excited because we're gonna talk about International Women's Day, women in customs, women in global trade. And I'm so fortunate because I get to interview a wonderful women in customs, women in global trade, leaders in our esteemed industry. And the start is gonna make Nickie Dalton from the London Chamber of Commerce. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being with us today.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. Who are we talking to?
So thank you for having me. I'm Nickie Dalton. I'm the Head of Trade Documentation and Trade Services here at the London Chamber of Commerce. I'm relatively new to the role. I've been here just over a year now. So my role is focused on overseeing the three departments that we have here that issue international trade documentation. So this varies significantly from certificates of origin for permanent exports, ATA carnets for temporary exports, and we also have an in-house customs declarations team as well. And we also have a really fantastic trade services team that really looks into how we can help and support businesses trade internationally and what support businesses need to trade internationally. But my career doesn't necessarily define me. I'm a feminist in the best and most positive sense, not in the sense of women need to be better, in the sense that there needs to be more equality between men and women, especially here in customs and international trade. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think we are making baby steps and progress, and the more we talk about it, the better. And I'm a big advocate in sharing stories in order to start the conversation so then we can move on with policy changes and things like that.
Wonderful. Exactly what we want to be talking about today. So you're exactly the person we need to speak to, and what a great career. Congratulations for the head of role. That's a big responsibility, because without you there is effectively no importing and exporting, and it goes to show again the role of women in customs and global trade leadership. So maybe to get us started, tell us a little bit what got you interested in customs and global trade.
If I'm going to be honest and completely honest, I got into customs and international trade by accident. I went to University of Sheffield. I studied economics. I didn't actually finish my degree. I dropped out of university and I had to quickly decide what career path I wanted to take. I fortunately had good friends and good contacts, and I managed to accidentally get a job in an export team. And from there, I think you just become passionate for it very, very, very quickly. So I progressed from an account manager to export team lead very, very quickly. We distributed commodities all over the world, ranging from places like the Middle East, the US to Africa, you name it, we distributed there. So you learn kind of very quickly how different countries have different requirements and different commodity codes and things like that. The one thing for me that where I realised I became more passionate about international trade is when I was given the Africa account, and I saw how much documentation that I needed to produce to ensure that these containers of biscuits, by the way, nothing special, nothing fancy, just biscuits, could get into these African countries. I underwent a huge project to kind of figure out how we could reduce this paperwork to make it easier for both myself, really, my company, and the customer. And it's from then I started looking at this on a more global scale for the rest of the regions as well. So I was there for about 3.5 years, and this focus on customs and trade documentation really clarified to me that this is kind of what I wanted to more specialise in. And then the opportunity came up for a trade documentation role here at the Chamber, and here I am. So 4.5 years into my career and I'm a head of a department, so I can't really ask for more. So dropping out of university was the best decision I made.
You said you like telling stories. What a story, and what a career, and what a way to show how it could be, right? How it could be. Yeah. So well done. Exciting. And of course, passionate about customs and global trade, I should say.
Definitely.
So I guess we're talking about the role of women in customs and global trade. So I guess one of a question, and you tell me if that's all right to ask, is what has it been like working in customs and global trade as a woman? Is this actually something I should be asking?
No, definitely. There's been swings and roundabouts. I mean, for me personally, as I said, my career to date is quite short, 4.5 years. And for me, initially, being taken seriously by my male counterparts in more senior positions took a lot. There was a misconception that my age and my gender meant that my opinion wasn't heard as much. I almost felt that I had to speak louder and more directly in order to be taken more seriously. Not necessarily here, but definitely in my previous role. But again, it comes with that there's not enough women in leadership roles in general. Only 30% of senior roles in the UK are made up by women. That means there's not an equal opportunity of male and female voices being heard. So people aren't used to hearing a female's voice and an opinion. And I think this concept of women need role models to aspire to and listen to and to grow from their experiences, which is why I think that there's a huge importance in sharing stories, talking about things that haven't gone so well so people can learn from them and they don't happen in the future. Luckily for me, I'm quite confident and I don't like to take no for an answer, and I like to perform to the best of my abilities. But I think this huge lack in confidence in women in general is why there's not enough women necessarily represented in these leadership roles. I read a statistic the other day that said that a man will look at a job description and see that he's probably 40% capable of doing that job, and he'll say, yeah, okay, I'll go for it, I'll apply for that role. A woman would only apply for that role if she thought she could do 100% on that job description. And that to me is the problem. There's a severe lack of confidence in women. So I think more needs to be done to support women's confidence, which comes with policy change, which comes with companies investing time in women to help to develop them and to push them through. And also another thing is women inspiring and supporting women. A lot of people are very quick to put people down, and if we speak to people in a positive and learn about their strengths and their weaknesses and work together on them, then we can achieve anything, to be honest.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool. I completely agree. That's really nice. Thank you. I guess you said it already. I mean, there is still this perception that women in leadership role, that's not something that you see every day. So let's go a little deeper into this, because you said yourself, we're not quite there yet. There's some progress being made, and that's also important to acknowledge, but we're not quite there yet. So I want to understand a little bit more where we are and what's next. What can we do next to support women in customs and global trade into leadership position? But even, I mean, not everybody can be a leader, but even in normal work, there should be recognition of the role of women in customs and global trade. So okay, I'm just gonna ask it. Do you think that in customs and global trade, people still perceive this perceive this as a man's job? You know, there's so many roles where men think, oh, that's a man's job, that's a man's world. So what about customs and global trade, logistics, moving goods around from A to B, going across borders, clearing the customs border? Is it a man's job today still?
I don't think it's seen to be a man's world, but I think it's dominated by men too much. And I think a lot of this, I mean, if you're looking from the UK specifically, I think we're quite fortunate in the sense that the policies we have in place is that we have a fair education system for men and women. Whereas if you look at other countries, for example, they don't necessarily have that. But I don't see it's a man's world. I definitely see it's going to more the equal route. but there's a long way to get there. And I think what we need to do more of is we need to talk about these issues. We need people like WTO, which do a great job, by the way, of producing these policy reports and going out and doing this research to understand how women are feeling in business currently. But then the difference is what businesses need to do is they need to create a safe space for their employees and programs to help to support individuals. I mean, ironically, my customs team is made up of all women. So I can't say that it's a man's world at all here at the London Chamber. If anything, we're not diverse in the sense that we only have women in our customs team. However, it is a very small team. There's only made up of 3 members of staff. But
I have the same experience, actually. I work with many multinational companies, and yeah, there are men, but I know so many women in customs that are in leadership positions today. I mean, I've been the only, so one of my clients has only women apart from me, right? And I'm just the supporting role, so to speak, right? And others in multinational companies in the UK hire women, and the criteria is ability, competence, knowledge, experience. And this in the UK is great. And I wish it would be the same across the world.
Absolutely. But I do think we could do more from a UK perspective in terms of customs and international trade. I think there needs to be more done at a younger level. I think we need to go into schools more and encourage this concept that international trade and customs, there are so many roles and so many diverse roles that produce a fantastic skill set. I think, especially with customs, the amount of detailing and things that needs to go into raising a customs declaration, raising an export declaration. You need to have so much experience and knowledge to be able to do that. It's not just a tick box exercise. To be able to understand the process of start to flow to moving goods from the UK to another country and how to provide and create that documentation, that's a lot. And people don't understand the skill set that's required for it. And I think a lot more could be done. And I'm a huge advocate on the concept of apprenticeships. And I don't think there's enough apprenticeships in international trade in general. We need to, there's all this supporting women in tech, which is great, don't get me wrong, and tech-based apprenticeships. But where's the apprenticeships based on international trade and customs? The skills that you can learn and develop and coach and develop yourself on through working in customs and international trade in general, you could go into so many different routes and career paths in general.
Would you say, if for the women that are watching this thinking, maybe also the younger audience now watching this thinking, is she actually suggesting that customs could be a career for me? Are you saying that a full launched career into the world of customs is something that you would encourage women to think about?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think there's too much pressure on people at a young age to know exactly what they need to do at 16 years old. And I think it's too much. But I think a career in customs, if you like traveling, you get to understand everything that's going on all around the world. It's not just specific. Customs isn't just, it's moving goods from A to B. To me, that's so fascinating. You are moving a commodity from one country to another. You have to understand both countries' requirements culturally and documentation wise. There's so much to it, and I find it fascinating, and I would really encourage young people to want to get involved in it.
I want to ask your opinion, if you don't mind, about women wanting to trade in the world. And I am thinking not necessarily about UK or the EU or the, for lack of a better word, developed world, but more equal opportunities to everyone. And this is more of a global trade question rather than a custom specific one. There are so many women right now around the world that have exciting products, local products, regional products, innovative products. I mean, I was talking to people in Ghana the other day about a cell phone that's powered by light rather than traditional energy. And she said to me, I'd love to export that around the world, but it's really difficult because the way that money is given out, the digital divide for them, for women to access the online kind of world in parts of the world. Also, a lack of knowledge of trade. In some parts, it seems to be reserved to men to know how to export. Having networks that with the customs again to get your product out, find distributors, dealing with the legal paperwork. There seems to be still a long way to go, not only with developing nations in general, but within that area, particularly with women. So what would you say, or have you experienced anything like that? Is that something that we need to address, that you think is worthwhile looking into? And of course, the question would be, how would we go about it?
No, great question. I mean, the WTA have a fantastic thing going, and they've been doing this since 2020. So they've got a fantastic commitment to this informal working group on trade and gender. So they meet regularly with countries from all around the world to understand any gender issues with trading in general. So they produce these fantastic reports and policy thoughts and changes. But what businesses need to do and what governments need to do is take on board this information and then create these inclusive groups like seminars and one-on-one sessions, because as I said earlier, women do suffer with confidence, so they wouldn't feel comfortable in a big, huge public setting. However, if there was a small seminar or webinar where they felt that they could be heard and their voice could be heard, they'd feel more comfortable asking the questions as to where they're struggling. And I think the concept of trade missions in general are fantastic to allow us to network and allow countries to network with other countries around the world and to understand better what's actually needed. Because it's easy to say, I want to trade with the US because it's got one of the world's biggest markets. But that's not the difficult thing. It's how do you get there? It's how do you help a woman in Africa who's got that fantastic business concept to be able to sell that to another business in America. So I think this is where WTO need to not necessarily step up, because I think they do fantastic work, but is to really put more focus on how they're going to make the change, as opposed to just say these are the issues that we're facing now.
You mentioned WTO now quite a lot, and you also mentioned governments and businesses. So let's stick with the government, and then one question on the businesses. You've already mentioned it in a way, so I'm not going to ask you to repeat it again, but just drawing this out a little bit more. There is equality policy all around HMRC, around the government. Just look on the website, equality is everywhere. So what do you think tangibly needs to change in order for women to trade profitably and confidently? Because you say one of the issues is confidence. So does policy need to change? Do attitudes need to change? Law needs to change? Everything needs to change? Or what would be the 1, 2, 3 things that you say we could do right away?
The problem with attitudes is that's all mindset. So that doesn't change quickly. That takes time. And that's why it's so important that we continue to talk about these issues. We continue to share our stories, can share our feedback, share our thoughts. So attitudes is a huge thing. Policies potentially could change, but thing is, actions speak louder than words, and you could have these policies, you could have say this is a fantastic policy that we're going to introduce, but actually introducing it is very, very different to saying that we're going to introduce it as well. Get out there and physically support these businesses, support these women that have these fantastic opportunities to be able to trade. I mean, the one thing that we have here at the Chamber, we have a department called Innovate UK, where we look specifically at innovative businesses and help them to trade where they want to trade. So this is based in the UK. There's obviously clearly should be and will be things like this around the world, but I just don't know about it. It's not clearly advertised, so we just need to talk more about it.
Okay, yeah. So there's a bit of homework for us to do as well in the UK here.
Yeah.
I've already taken up so much of your time, so we're going to come to an end here. I'm going to draw it to a close, but what a fascinating topic this is, and there's still so much more to talk about. And I really appreciate your time coming on and speaking so frankly and openly about what we can do, what we can all do collectively as a world community of customs and global trade professionals to make women's voices heard and understand better. I want to leave the last bits really to you. If there is any final thoughts or any plea or anything that you would like the audience, the people watching this, to take away, then that would be the moment now.
I would just say that we need to, I think a lot of the time, women, as I keep repeating, women need to be more confident, but women need to support women. We need to be more supportive of each other. We need to understand that everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses, and we need to work together to combat this. As I said, I've only been in my career for 4.5 years. I don't pretend to be an expert on customs procedures. I don't pretend to be an expert on international trade in general. There's so much to it, but learn from each other, support each other, take in each other's expertise and knowledge, and work together to build a better working customs and international trade for women, so that we can inspire younger people to want to get into this industry. And thank you so much, Anne, for having me. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it is a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. So thank you so much, and I hope we get to do this again, and we get to do it again in a couple of months, years or so, and say, look, back then we thought we needed to all this. Look how far we've come in the meantime. Look, fantastic insights, and something that that I myself as a man don't hear every day. So thank you so much, and I think everybody says thank you to you too for this insight. So thank you, and we'll put the details, the contact details, or the details of the London Chamber down below in the link, so that everybody can check it out, the fantastic services that the London Chamber provides. Thanks again.
Thank you.